Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for what is going to be nothing short of another jam-packed daily cryptocurrency market update. And if you are new around here and finding yourself on my channel for the first time today, don't forget to check out that subscribe button because we drop an update just like this one around 1 p.m. UK time every single day to help you guys stay up to date with the latest and greatest things happening with the crypto space, but also the broader markets. And that's exactly what we're going to be doing in this video. I'm aware that it is, of course, a major holiday across the majority of Europe. Of course, it isn't one here in the UK, and it probably isn't going to be too long before this government decides to ban holidays for hard-working people altogether. However, the show must go on. So we have quite a bit of news to get into. We're going to be starting things off with some crypto news. We'll be taking a look at Bitcoin and its kind of price action, kind of stalling right now. You know, people sort of raising the question, is there a sort of another dip to come before we start rocking and rolling, or are we going to start rocking and rolling from here? We'll be throwing our 2 cents in regards to that. We're going to be looking at some crypto news after that. We have news that the US government has moved over $500 million worth of funds seized from Silk Road to Coinbase. Now, typically when somebody moves funds to an exchange, that is an ominous sign. However, we know that Coinbase were the official custody solution for the US Marshal Service, which is tasked with seized funds. So, not such an ominous sign. And of course, we've got news that $2 billion worth of Mt.Gox Bitcoin has been moved by BitGo. Yeah. There's lots of kind of ominous news or things going around right now, obviously, because the price action, it's kind of a grab for headlines, really, I think, more than anything, because it's a very lackluster time to be in the cryptocurrency market in regards to interest. Not that many people are interested in crypto right now. If you can confirm that on Google Trends, people always say, oh, Google Trends doesn't reflect anything. Well, actually, Google is the largest search engine in the world, used by billions of people. It is the go-to search engine for most people. And actually, I think how many people are Googling crypto and the various crypto projects is a good reflection of the kind of interest in the space as a whole. We've used our own barometer in regards to being a YouTube channel and said, actually, we get some of the most popular content for certain topics, even for Solana recently, for example. And there's little to no interest. You know, anywhere between 10 to 20,000 views is great. Nobody's interested in crypto right now. But once we've gone through that, we're going to be talking more broadly about some comments that were made in Elon Musk and Donald Trump's Twitter space that broke the internet. And one of the comments that Elon Musk had brought up was about the money supply growth and the cause of inflation. And Donald Trump's response to this wasn't that the money supply wasn't going to grow. It was that he's going to work towards better negotiations. And he said something along the lines of drill, baby, drill, to obviously reduce what is a main driver, one of the main drivers of inflation, which is oil. Of course, we know M2 is set to continue to grow. It's the nature of the system. It is an expansive system. It is a usury system that we work in. Ultimately, we've done a lot of looking at global liquidity. We're going to be showing you the money supply with assets, the Dixie, which is going to be a main driver of liquidity and thus money creation. We'll be bringing up the yen and the kind of microcosm of that being macro echoed in regards to the dollar system. So a lot to get into as always, guys. Let's dive into the video. And let's start things off with Bitcoin. So Bitcoin very much on the road to $151,000 in our opinion. I do believe this is going to be a flag-like break that could see you go all the way up to 131k, depending on where you want to draw the flag from. More probably for me is this target based on here to here. This is your flagpole, not here to here. Some people looking at this pullback and saying the pole is only here. I'd say it's more lengthy than that. But there's nothing really changed here whatsoever. And Bitcoin, whether we like it or not, has still really been that ship that rises and sinks everything. If we look at HBAR, which is one of our favorite altcoins, for example, we can throw something like Ethereum on here. You can see they've all given way to Bitcoin. And that's just how this game goes, I'm afraid, ladies and gentlemen. If you look at where Bitcoin started pulling back, look at, you know, we've got 2 altcoins on here, but it's the general space. One of the stronger ones absolutely has to be Sol. We have no affiliation, by the way, with Solana from a sort of, we don't get paid by Solana. We don't get paid by projects to make content. If we did, we'd have to disclose them. And you'd see that disclaimer, by the way. We cover projects that we're genuinely interested in and we think there's a genuine opportunity with. So a couple of people say, is this paid? If it's a paid promotion that we get here on Allincrypto, you need to be told that legally. So there'll always be a disclaimer. The videos that we put out are not paid. If you look at, going back to what we were talking about, Bitcoin, of course, the tide that rises and sinks all ships. Its pullback has largely just dragged the entire market with it. And when it resumes, which we do think it will, the market will go and altcoins will start to outperform. You might have one final sort of stab higher for Bitcoin dominance, but I do believe that this is on a, in the short term, short to mid sort of term, a downward trajectory that could potentially set up a broader pattern that we could eventually see trigger a 20-something% Bitcoin dominance, which of course would align with the maturing of the space. A little bit of TA for you there. Let's talk about, so Bitcoin will resume. Let's talk about how the US government just moved $590 million of Silk Road seized Bitcoin to Coinbase. Lots of people worrying about this. However, I don't think they need to, because Coinbase will custody digital assets from the US Marshal Service. The crypto exchange said the federal agency had selected its institutional investment arm to provide custody and advanced trading services for large cap digital assets. Interesting how they said large cap digital assets. So I don't think this is any kind of a sell event. Typically it's bad news when large amounts of Bitcoin are moved to exchanges, but not perhaps in this case. We also have news that just in $2 billion worth of Mt.Gox has just been moved by BitGo. Mt.Gox are going to get, or the creditors are going to get their Bitcoin back. I actually don't think a lot of them will sell it. I've been covering Mt.Gox for as long as I've been making content, nearly 5 years now. Always a bit of a scare event. Let's talk a little bit more about the broader picture. So not a lot going on in crypto right now from a news point of view. It's very dry. However, and I truly believe this, I believe now is the optimal opportunity, not just from a technical point of view when you look at the altcoin market, but in regards to macro where we are. We're about to sort of see that rolling or the coming down of interest rates, which is ultimately going to weaken the DXY, which is ultimately going to see liquidity start to really uptick. We already know M2, which we're going to talk about in just a second, is upticking. This is from The Root. Elon Musk brought up money supply growth as the cause of inflation. Real Donald Trump's response to this, to inflation, was better negotiations, lowering costs, and drill baby drill, increase oil and energy production. No matter your political views, money supply grow will continue. Nothing stops this train. That's a Lynn Alden quote. All-time highs in money, in global money supply. So global money supply, perhaps, not US money supply. And you can see this is how tethered. We did another video where we spoke about global liquidity and one of the main drivers, which is going to be the DXY. We're going to be bringing that up again. Actually, also, when you look at assets, they look primed for that liquidity cycle. They look ready for it. They're very much basing, whether that be UK, US, EU housing, whether that be small cap stocks, which I looked at with my Patreon test. They become a Patreon, guys. It's well worth the membership. Or whether that be altcoins. You know, things are positioned for that liquidity, and the money supply, absolutely highlighted by The Root there, is never going to stop. This is US money supply, and this is assets. Can you see the correlation? Of course, Bitcoin come from nowhere, but we could put really most assets on here. Go and ask your grandparents what they bought their house for. It's because of this. Inflation comes from one place and one place only, and that's the central banks. And we know one major driver of money supply, money creation is debt. If you understand the system, how money comes into existence is it's debted into existence. So it's like a double accounting ledger. So I give you the loan, I then take the liability, but the money is now out there, and I also have a treasury or a bond as the kind of assurance, if you will. So as the money supply grows, which is going to be accelerated by interest rates coming down, which we know has an effect on the DXY. This is the DXY chart. Not only is it technically in a sort of predictive state to the downside, obviously the correlation here, just to put Bitcoin up with risk, is dollar down, crypto risk generally up, dollar risk down, dollar down, risk up, and this is going to come to the downside. And we know that's signaled by a number of things, certainly where they are. And actually, the dollar coming down is going to be the adversary of, or the adverse of, the yen up. With last Monday's events, we saw the yen gain strength, which means people needed to unwind their leverage, their borrowing that they had done from the BOJ, who became a creditor for the world. This is the Nikkei. Nikkei shot down as the yen went up. You can see how correlated these are. The US markets are very correlated to the DXY and, of course, Bitcoin. And this, we do believe, is on a broader trajectory to the downside, which is going to be what sees that global liquidity cycle come into effect. We know M2 is set to continue. You're not going to stop this train. And I do think generally, this is just my take, by the way, guys. I absolutely know I'm going to have a lot of people going against me in the comment section, but I think Trump's good for crypto. I truly do believe that. Certainly better than the opposition. And I think he's generally going to be not so bad for America, but I could totally be wrong on that. That's just my own personal take. And we're not afraid to say it and kind of be a little bit polarizing on that. So quite a lackluster day. Really, we're just waiting for Bitcoin to finish this sort of broadening channel that it's in, reassume the altcoins have just given way under Bitcoin's sort of dominance. I do think altcoins will start to outperform. I think that's going to also align when Bitcoin sort of picks its head up with Bitcoin dominance eventually rolling for this cycle. The moving of Bitcoin funds by the government, I wouldn't worry too much about, and also the Mt.Gox thing. And, you know, understand the broader trajectory, the broader game that's going on here in regards to money creation. You're in the wrong side if you don't own assets of a compound equation that works against you with the money supply. Your wages do not increase to the same manner that the money supply does. This is why everybody, I believe, needs to be an investor. Not saying everyone needs to be a crypto investor, because there's this kind of landscape that you need to deal with as a result of it. But people should really be hedging their bets in regards to a failing fiat system. That's only going to increase and amplify. And this is the whole narrative that Bitcoin came out of. And then we've took distributed ledgers and used them for a far broader application. That's it from me, ladies and gents. I'm going to see you all in tomorrow's video. Thanks a lot for watching. See you in the next one.